go. Dun, 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 dun. Kilted
Tilted
balls.
balls.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm for sure we weren't on with each other that time.
All right.
My little one today, like, looked at me and was like, "Oh," like I turned on the screen and he looked over. He's like, "Looking good as always." I'm like,
Nice.
"Nice, nice. That's what you like
That
to
is
hear."
true.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Kilted Balls podcast. Thanks for joining us. Man, we are halfway through the month of January.
Yeah, no kidding. It's wild.
Yeah,
2024.
have you been keeping up with your resolutions? Have you still been fasting?
That's actually the only one I've been doing. I've slipped a lot, especially this weekend. Like just moving so like we're officially at the warehouse now. So there's
Nice,
still stuff at Gina's house. So we don't have everything moved out, but we're not sleeping there anymore. So
nice.
yeah, it was just like you get busy and then like I honestly I just forgot. But I have been all but yesterday. I've been getting at least 5% on my trades. So my steps are going to be looking good. Of course, I'll have an update at the end of the month on where it's
Yeah,
actually at.
I was gonna say right now, like, are you past step one?
Yes. Well, what had happened, I don't know if you remember way back when we first started talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I took a big L. So
Yes,
I
I
had
remember.
like, I think I was maybe $72 is what I was starting at.
Okay,
So I was building that back up. I think I'm really close to step three.
nice. That's not bad because I was thinking at the start of the year you started like at $50. I'm like, man, he's got to
Yeah,
double his money to hit step zero.
yeah. No, I think it was like 72, honestly.
Well, and it's
70,
interesting
72.
because in our 36 step challenge, right now you and I are taking like totally opposite tacts, which I think is interesting. Like, we're both doing crypto trading, which, as our listeners know, you and I play with that a lot. But
Hmm.
you're doing risky trades, and I'm doing really slow, safe trades, right?
I guess 10, like most of mine are 10x would be considered risky, yes.
Yeah, are you kidding? It gives you a warning when you click 10x. It says, hey, this is a high risk thing. Are you sure?
But
And
I set my stop losses tight.
and
I
I
cannot
am
mess around.
doing almost no leverage at all.
Yeah.
And so
And you're
like
doing really well.
in January, I've done zero leverage. I wouldn't say I'm doing really well. Like you can make 5% trades every day, whereas like every day mine are like at 1% and I'm not trading, right? Like I've got to
Yeah.
be patient and I've got to wait, you know,
Yeah.
which is okay. And I like it because it shows that we can do different things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still crypto, but in general, like one of the things I think about, and it's funny because I was thinking this is probably should be the theme of the episode tonight, and I wasn't even thinking about what I just talked about. So it's the universe like throwing examples at us, you know. Are you
Yeah.
you like Pet Haven
Yeah.
tonight?
Nope. Nope. Leave. Yeah. Banks is hitting me with the ball. So then Molly Bean started scratching the crap
Yeah,
out of me.
and like she's biting your elbow right now. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Okay. We
But
got to
yeah,
move
I
down,
was
Molly Bean.
thinking that in my early days of inspiring people and getting people to advance,
No.
one
Yeah.
of the things that I felt set me apart from other people was that I was a really big believer, and we've talked about this a little bit. Like, I always say always lead to the way. Like, that's one of my things. Like, I go
Yes.
always lead to the way, and a lot of times I'm talking about that like with religion. Like, I'm like
Yeah.
always will lead you to the right spot, but I also think it's true in like everything. And I'm always like, you can you can do your own thing as an individual and do your own thing as an individual with other people. Like, people don't have to follow a set path.
Yeah.
And I find people do that a lot. And I remember like I don't know why this just popped into my head, but I remember a Bruce Lee movie, not Bruce Lee, but like a movie about like his biography or whatever. Do
Yeah.
you remember that movie? Like the guy, the actor who was playing him, like got shot and killed during the filming of it or something? Or was that The Crow? Oh no, maybe it was, I don't remember.
Yeah,
Either
that's
way,
the Crow. That's his son in the
yeah, his
Crow.
son was in The Crow. So anyway, the point being, like when he like lost his fight, he's like, oh, it's because I was too rigid and I was trying to follow a pattern. I need to be free flowing. I need to be like a river, or like the wind, or all of that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I've always kind of thought about that. And so this is another great example. And I think because we think about this, that's why I'm like, oh, there's another example. Oh, there's another example, right? Like you're doing high risk stuff. I'm doing low risk stuff. We're still probably going to get to the same spot, I hope, right? And we're
Yeah.
still making steps, but it doesn't have to be like one set way to get there,
Hmm.
which that idea that everybody can do all the different things and you don't have to be set brought up a question that we had just right before we were shooting that we needed to know from you. So we have a question for you. Are you ready?
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Okay. So you turned us on to Ted Lasso, right?
Hmm.
And so we started watching season 3 just recently. We had our subscription was messed up. Whoever we were stealing our subscription from canceled their Apple TV without letting us know. So we had to like figure that
canceled
all out and get
canceled
our
their
own
Apple
working.
phone, so it just went
Huh?
away. I said canceled their Apple phone.
I know, like all of a sudden I had no Apple TV and I was on season 3. So we started watching it. And at the beginning of season 3, I was like, I can see why people aren't enjoying this because I had heard people say season 3 wasn't that good. And so
Yeah.
like I'm watching the first 2 or 3 episodes, I'm like, oh, I can see why. Like these are sad, they're dark. It's just weird. And then
Hmm.
today, or the last couple days, we watched some episodes and we're like, oh, these are really good. We enjoyed them. And then today we watched an episode and we felt so good after the episode, we had to watch another episode. And that
Hmm.
episode was so good. Like I had all the feels during it. Like I was like yelling at the TV during it, which, as you know, is something like I never do. Right.
Yeah.
Like I had like all the feels, but there was a scene in it. And after the show was done, my wife was like, I bet Kilted was howling during that scene. And she goes, I want to know how loud he was. I'm like, okay, I'll ask him. So
Okay.
in the scene where they tied their penises together and were playing soccer.
Yeah. 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 I laughed a lot during that one.
So you were howling during that one?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I was laughing really, really loudly. And then I like was like leaning on her and I'm just like laughing so hard through the whole thing. And even at the end, I'm like crying, laughing. And like we got done and she's like, that might be the most you've ever laughed at a TV show or something. And I was like, really? I go, because I laughed a lot at the bad breath one. Like I'm like, that was pretty
Yeah.
funny. She's like, no, I'm pretty sure that this was more than that. And I was like, oh, because for listeners who don't know me, so Jason, you haven't spent a lot of time around me, so this is a small fact you wouldn't know. But as vocal as I am, I'm not vocal when I think something is funny or awesome. Like the family always thinks it's hilarious because like we'll watch something and I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, that was so funny." And they're like, they're like, "You're supposed to laugh when it's funny." I'm like, "Oh." I'm like, I just thought it was hilarious. And they're like, "You're not supposed to say it's hilarious. You're supposed to just laugh." So like it's a thing
Wonder
here
where
where
that
like I
stems
don't.
from.
Huh? I don't know
I
where
wonder
that
what that
stems from.
stems from.
Right? But you've been around me for a long time, right? Like that's how I
Yeah.
am. Like that's I'm just
Hmm.
like, oh my God, that is the funniest thing ever. And people are like, you never even laughed. And I'm like, I'm laughing on the inside. On the inside, I'm like cracking up. So
Yeah, I do remember. I mean, obviously, when you just brought it up, I had forgot. I was wondering what scene it was, and that one didn't even click in there. And that was a natural response. So when it was going on, I do remember I was laughing really, really hard.
Oh my gosh. It was so funny. And like they're tripping over the strings and they're trying to run next to each
It
other. I'm like, that is like
was
the
one, I
best
think I
game.
started like coughing and hacking, calmed down, and started laughing again.
Was it? I imagine it was better than the Dumb and Dumber hot pepper hamburger scene for you.
Mm. But the first time though, see, that's one of those occurrences, and you were there.
I was
Like
there. I was there.
I caught the joke before it happened. So
Yes.
that makes
Nobody could hear it in the
so
theater.
much funny. Yeah. So that happens to me. Like I've been at comedy clubs and seen the joke coming and just like busting up and no one else in the crowd is like until the joke happens. So yeah, no, it was funny.
Oh my gosh. But that made me think of that because he's like, they're trying
Yeah.
to do all of these positions and you got to do all of them. You've got to support each other no matter which position they're moving to. And you've got to do the thing all the time and just
Hmm.
like cover each other's backs and help support. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly like one of my philosophies. I find, and I think a lot of people either want to emulate it or they find this, but like for me, a lot of the stuff in Ted Lasso, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's us, right? Like that's us
Yeah.
all the time, which is like so good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that people like. It's relatable. But
Hmm.
besides being relatable, I agree one step further, like that is us. That's how we are, that's how we act. And
And if you're like, listen, Ball, you coach a lot, you can't be the way Lasso is. I am like. I tell kids all the time, I'm like, oh, don't worry. We'll go through. You got to forget about that. We got to move to the next thing. We got to go. And like when they
Mhm,
suck, I'll be like, I won't hide it. You suck. You suck.
mhm.
But we can be better. Right. Like
Yeah.
it just makes me go because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so much there. Right. Now I'm not as overly well, some people would say I'm as positive as he is, but I don't do all of the funny, weird things.
Yeah.
Right. So
Never
like I
had
don't
a
have the
never had little
weird,
meetings.
yeah, I don't have little meetings and I don't have the what do you call it? Where the anecdotes, right? Like I have stories and stuff,
Yeah.
but I don't have like the oh, you're talking about just like that from Wizard of Oz. Like I don't do that.
Hmm. Yeah. Or the
So
anxiety.
or the anxiety. I don't have crippling
Mhm.
anxiety either. So that's good. That's good. And I'm drinking a new drink, and I think you would like it, by the way.
Oh, you had said that. What is it?
Yeah, so this looks a little bit different than normal what I've been drinking. Like the color looks a little different. It looks a little orange on screen for me,
Hmm.
right? Can you see it?
Yeah. It looked like you poured some Jameson earlier.
Yeah, so here's the drink, and it was actually I really like it. So I don't know if anybody else will, but for me it was good. It's a shot of orange juice, a shot of spiced rum, and I'm using Captain Morgan Black spiced rum, and then 2 shots of Mountain Dew,
Hmm.
and then on ice. And like when I first saw it, I was like, I don't know if that's gonna be good or not, but I'm like, I'm gonna try it. Like I'm gonna try it and I'm gonna see like what it is.
Yeah.
So, you know, once
I'm willing to try it. I'd have to be careful so I won't sleep all night if I drink it too
yeah.
late.
Well, I don't know. It like put me to sleep the other day, but it has like
Well, caffeine's different for you.
yeah, but this isn't the caffeine. I think it's the alcohol is enough, even though it's only like 25%.
Yeah.
I think it's still enough. But yeah, you're right. Caffeine puts me to sleep anyway. So the other day I was like crashed. I'm like, man, what happens? They're like, yeah, they're like, you were just like asleep like instantly. I was like, oh, the girls got me a new espresso maker, and I had I always make like the 4 cups of espresso. And so I made a 4 cup of espresso, drank it, and lay down on the couch and was like out for like an hour and a half. They're like,
That's hilarious.
really? I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like, if I'm not paying attention, it'll just make me crash right away. So yeah, so it's really good. It kind of reminds me like not quite a Fruity Pebbles smell,
Yeah.
but in that ballpark. So like
Okay.
you don't really smell a ton of orange juice or the lemon lime from the Mountain Dew or all of the spiced rum. Like they kind of
Yeah.
commingle to give you that.
Okay. Just a second. I'm gonna go
So,
off camera for a second
okay. You go off camera, boy.
because I think that we have a Mountain Dew here,
Oh my
and that
gosh.
was the only ingredient that I'd be missing. Oh,
If
is
you
it?
have one, you should try it.
It is. It's a real Mountain Dew as well.
Oh my gosh. So I don't normally have Mountain Dew at the house because I'll drink it all, right? And it's
Okay.
funny because people are always like, "Oh, what do you drink? You drink a lot of Diet Cokes or this or that." I'm like, I have drinks that I like, but I don't like drink them a lot because I know my weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
And so that Mountain Dew is one of those. But I was like shopping the other day and I saw it on sale and I kind of had the urge and I was like, all right, I'm getting a case. But then when I got home, I'm like, I can't just drink like 10 Mountain Dews. I've got to cut it with something.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, what kind of recipes are there out there? And so then I found that. And
That's
I was
awesome.
like, all right. And now I tried it. I'm like, it might be a better summer drink. I don't know. But it like hit the spot. And like today I was sitting getting ready for dinner and I was like, you know what? That sounds like it might be really good. And so I wanted to share it with the listeners. So if you didn't catch it,
That's super
it was
awesome.
1 part OJ, 1 part spiced rum, and 2 parts Mountain Dew over ice, if you can hear it. So, yeah, it's good. It's sweet.
Okay.
So,
Oh, I imagine it would. The
so are
question
you
as
making
well,
one right now?
especially I am.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you to try it. Listeners, live on air, you get to hear Kilton try this.
Will Tristan be bitter though if I'm drinking his last Mountain Dew?
Well, tell him I've got another one up here for him because I bought a case. So
Oh, good.
I think he'll drive up here for it.
Yep.
Don't you think? Heck
Well,
yeah. Of
especially
course.
because of the weather here lately, and
Yeah,
he's been
right.
working outside. So
Oh yeah, yeah. He should
wait,
definitely come
wait,
up
it's
here.
colder up there.
Right here, it's 2 degrees right now. My computer says 2 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, yeah, you heard that right, Jason, if you're listening. 2 degrees Fahrenheit right now, and it's not even that late yet. So it's probably gonna get colder than 2 degrees.
So I didn't measure.
You didn't measure it.
Probably should have stirred it. I
Yeah, look, I
eyeballed.
can see the orange at the bottom. You should stir it up a little.
Yeah. Oh, now you know.
That cat's like an attack cat on you.
Hmm. Well, you can't see. Oh, that is good. You can't see banks off in the
You're like, oh,
behind
that
the
is
camera.
good.
Hmm.
And you didn't even mix it up yet,
Yeah, I like that.
right? Do you get that little fruitiness? Like I said, not
Hmm.
quite fruity pebbles, but in that ballpark. It goes really
Yeah.
good with the
Where did you
rum.
find it again?
Fine line.
Oh,
I was like,
nice.
I'm like,
Took
show
that
me
Mountain
all
Dew
the
pick.
recipes with Mountain Dew. And so I just started scrolling through until I found one that I was like, oh, interesting. So
That looks good.
yeah, I was like, that might be interesting. I'm gonna try that. And I couldn't like wrap my brain around it. So I'm like, I'm gonna try it. And then I was like,
Hmm.
ooh. I'm like, especially could you imagine like having that like with really crushed ice in the summer by the pool?
Oh, yeah, it'd be awesome. I agree. I think it would be a little bit more summertime.
Yeah,
I
because it's
guess
fruity.
it's the OJ feel. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
no, that's really good.
citrusiness, right? I agree. I agree. I think that's what makes it good. So, ooh, and tomorrow for listeners, it's going to be 16 degrees in Michigan. So, yeah,
Oh my,
yeah.
that's really cold.
It's pretty cold. It's pretty cold. It's cold enough, and I
Well,
think I already told you this. I spilled coffee the other day driving, and I was driving a half mile. It wasn't very far, and I spilled my coffee, and I was like, crap. And so when I parked, I got out to wipe the coffee. I'm inside the car, people. And I got out to wipe up the coffee, and it was frozen already on the inside of the car. Like if it spilled and froze, and it was hot coffee. So it spilled and
yeah.
froze to the door of my car in the half-mile drive. I'm like, gosh
Well,
darn it.
isn't that a thing? Isn't that a thing? If it's warmer, it freezes faster. Someone asked me that recently, and
Well,
I think maybe Jason asked me that
that so
because
yes,
people do the ice tricks with hot water, and they throw it up so it turns into ice
yeah.
before it
So
lands.
the thing is,
Chemistry time. Chemistry time.
when you're using the word faster, when you're using the word faster, remember you're talking about speed, right?
Okay, so we're talking
So
milliseconds.
no. What I'm saying is, like, people will always say it with like macaroni and cheese. They'll be like, if you put hot water in the pan, it's slower to boil than if you put cold water in the pan. Like cold water will boil faster. And I'm like, yeah, no. And they're like, yeah, it's faster. And I'm like, okay, it is faster, meaning the rate of change is faster. But your cold water is going to
Oh.
take 10 minutes to boil because it's going to change from, I don't know, 50 degrees to 100 degrees in 10 minutes. I go, and you're
Mhm.
right. The other one is going to change 25 degrees in, 7 minutes. But they're like, wait, but that's faster. It's 7 minutes. I'm like, it's not faster. It's slower. It takes less time because it has to go less of a distance. So,
Okay.
right, it's like saying, hey, a jet's a lot faster than me walking. So, you're probably going to get to church faster than I will if we leave at the same time. But no, like church is a half mile away. I'm going to get there before you even get to the plane. Like, yeah, the plane's faster, but it's
Yeah.
a half mile away. Like I'm going to win
So why is it in like a lot of the TikToks and little videos and stuff they tend to use hot water because you can see more of the steam maybe for
because it's
visual
the
effect?
steam. The steam is freezing.
Mm,
So your
that makes sense.
steam
The
is
steam is
going up,
freezing too.
and it's a gas, so it spreads all out
That
because
makes
it's
sense.
steam,
Okay.
and then it freezes, and then it's like a cloud falling. So it's
That
it's a
makes
cool
sense.
thing. Whereas if it was cold, you would just see a bucket of water go out and it would fall and not so
It
not
wouldn't freeze. Yeah.
it wouldn't be very cool at all, right? But if you do the gas spreads
That
way out
makes
and then
sense.
they
That
freeze
makes
and fall back to
sense.
earth. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because it's
that's
so hot, it spreads. Oh, and I love learning new stuff. And
yay,
actually,
chemistry
I
with
don't think we
kilted
talked about it on
balls.
here. They were talking about how much a cloud weighs, and I
Oh
thought that
yeah.
that was super interesting
A ton,
because people
tons and
think
tons and
clouds.
tons.
Yeah, yeah, because it's all the water in there.
Well, people forget how big air is. One of the things I tease people about is like, I'm like they think that air isn't a thing, right? They're like, oh, that room's empty or that cup is empty, which
Mm-hmm.
is if you're using the idea that I can drink this cup, right? So it's half full
Mm-hmm.
of liquid or whatever. But they forget that air is actually a thing and it weighs a lot. And one of the things when I'm feeling like I don't know, irritated with humans, right? Is I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
which weighs more, the air in your refrigerator or a dozen eggs in your refrigerator? And people are like, that doesn't even make any sense. Eggs obviously weigh more. I'm like, do the calculation. Like
Yeah.
because I teach that, right? Like I'm like, here's how you calculate how much the air weighs in your fridge. You can like, it's not even hard. And they're like, it's a lot more than the eggs. I'm like, it's a lot more. Well, that's weird. Like it doesn't seem like it weighs a lot because it's in a sea of air, right? It's like playing with a
Yeah.
water balloon in the water. Like it doesn't feel that heavy because it's a water balloon in the water, right?
Yeah.
Durr. And some of you are like, I've never played with a water balloon in the water. But you'll notice Kilted has frozen, which is probably going to be my favorite thing about him recording at the warehouse. So we have found recently that his internet leaves a little bit to be desired. Oh, there he
A
is.
lot to be desired.
Which makes us wonder how the miners are doing so much work at the warehouse.
I'm
Speaking of
thankful.
miners doing work, I was running the numbers for last year, and listeners, I don't know if you'll find this interesting or not. Kilted, you might. Our utility bills for the miners were way, way lower this year. So part of 22, they must have been in Michigan.
Yep,
I'm
they were.
I'm guessing. So the utility bills down in North Carolina were way, way less. We mined tremendously less value in
Hmm.
2023. So our utility bill was lower, but the amount we mined was way, way lower, right?
Hmm.
The amount we have on hand is way, way higher
Oh, really?
because when we were mining, we're mining Bitcoin. And so as we're mining, it's being like there was a time when we were mining at 18,000 per Bitcoin. And there were
Yeah,
months where we mined at 20,000 Bitcoin and 23,000 months of that. And now
yeah.
Bitcoin's at 42,000. It's more than doubled its value. So we might have mined $700 worth of Bitcoin back a year ago, but that $700 is now worth $1,400.
Yeah,
So the actual value of what we mined is way, way more, which was literally the point of what we were doing.
yes.
I was like, look, it's working the exact way we predicted it would work. That if we mine
Hmm.
it low, it will provide us more value in the future than when we're doing it. And so it's okay if it's breaking even or barely breaking even because in the
Yes,
future it'll be worth way, way more. So,
yes.
and we'll probably have to pay
That's
taxes
awesome.
on the way, way more. Yeah, I just thought that was cool because I'm like looking at the numbers. I'm like, man, that kind of sucks. We didn't make as much. And then I'm like, except that it's worth twice as much now. So
Yeah,
makes a difference.
yeah, super awesome. Because even our like I've noticed on the pool, more people are coming in, so like our pie piece is smaller, but
Yes.
it's worth a lot more, and I expect it to be that way even more. The interesting part, like we were talking about a couple days ago, is when the halving occurs, what's going to happen then?
Right, right. Will it jump or will it stay the same?
Yep.
And it's interesting because going back to like the theme of the episode, apparently, like, Jason had our friend had talked about mining Ethereum or staking
Hmm.
Ethereum or all these. I think all of these are good investment vehicles, right? I
Hmm.
think they're all good options. I think they're all going to grow. Whether they all grow tomorrow, people listen, I don't know. It may take 10 years for them to grow. And nobody has an issue with that when they're buying real estate investments or they're buying,
Hmm.
you know, like other things. Like it'll grow patiently for sure.
Yeah.
I have no doubts about that.
Yeah.
So now I wouldn't bet all my money on Doge or Shiba, but
Yeah.
you do you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? Like,
There's
oh,
going to
I
be
did a
people
trick.
who hit like crazy. They're going to bet the farm on something, but there's
Yeah.
going to be a lot who don't.
Well, and it's like you and I were talking the other day. I made a trade, and you're like, I've never even heard of that thing. I'm like,
Hmm.
there's so many out there none of us have heard of. They're
Yep.
not going to be successful. They're all going to fail.
And I forgot that strategy we used to do. I don't do that at all anymore.
Oh yeah, I pay a lot of attention to that, and I've noticed that things like KuCoin have given even more technicals. So like when you
Hmm.
like pick a stock or a crypto, it'll tell you like without even going to TradeKing, like it'll say on crypto at the bottom, this is support, this is resistance, this is when it's going to turn bullish, this is when it's going to turn bearish. And
Nice.
I'm like,
I need to
that's
start doing
pretty
some
damn
of that stuff on
useful.
my computer because I'm not seeing any of that on my
That's
on
on my
my cell
phone.
phone. Oh, see, I need to look better then.
Yeah, I was like super happy when I found it and I was like, oh, so like now when I'm looking at something and it's like, let's say it's like resistance is, half a cent and it's
Hmm.
down, but it's trading at 0.48. I'm like, I'm not gonna buy that because I know it's at resistance. Like it's not gonna
Yeah,
probably break through resistance. I'm gonna wait till it's at support. Then I'll go ahead and
yeah,
buy my spot grid and it'll go up and down. Are
yeah.
we playing the train game?
No, my motion light turned off, so you can see I'm sitting in the dark now.
I love it. I love it.
Thanks, went and laid down.
Nice, nice. Everything's calm in the kilted household. That's
Yes,
beautiful.
it is.
All right. Well, friends, we are almost out of time for this episode. I hope you learned something. If nothing else, you learned a nice new summer drink. And we really
Yes.
enjoyed chatting with you. So, this is Ballbuster signing off.
That's a Dragon Jair. Love you all.